Hello and welcome to the West Yorkshire Football Show. It's another episode of Leeds Utd Latest here with myself, Stephen Brown, and joining me as ever, Jason Booker. We're in the matching hoodies. Green's the theme of the day today. We don't know what's going on there, but welcome along. Please do smash your likes on the video, get your comments in, get subscribed to the channel as well. We're going to kind of take a look back at the state of play with Leeds. You'll have seen it on the thumbnail. At Leeds United delaying the inevitable, so we're going to have a look at a few various things. Jason, it's a few days on from when we last spoke. Always a strange one when it's an international break. Obviously, it's kind of we got kind of it's like a cliffhanger at the end of a TV show, isn't it? And we're all just kind of waiting for that next series to start. I mean, it's frustrating, isn't it? You know, it would have been great, I think, if we could have just got straight into the Villa game this weekend because, you know, we were talking before, you know, the discourse around it goes absolutely nuts. It's like there's a vacuum and something has to fill that void, and it ends up just being all over the place.
Yeah, I think probably for us as fans, we kind of just wanted to rip the plaster off and get another game in. I think actually for a points perspective and certainly for Daniel Farke and the team, I think a break was probably good, if I'm honest. I think it probably will give them the best opportunity to come back revitalised with a new, hopefully a bit of a new dimension to the play. I mean, I'm not overly concerned yet about what we're going to see at home. We've seen no drop in performances at home, have we? So we really should be pretty confident going into the Villa game. It's only this away situation that we find ourselves in that's kind of giving us these feelings. So, yeah, pros and cons. I definitely am going to miss having a game today. I can't lie. I kind of just want to get it done, but it probably comes more from a position of feeling like it's inevitable. But the more I think about it, I don't know whether it is. I don't know whether it is, and I think the discourse that we'll probably get drawn into today is will we end up then doing it too late if we need to? You know, it beats Villa, then it goes on, and before you know it, it's January, and you know, and so on, so on, so on. But then if we're picking up enough points to stay in the position that we are, everybody should really be happy. Yeah. You know, I've seen a lot of people, and then kind of turning over a few pages at once here, but I've seen a lot of people this week throw shade at the fact that we're at this points per game ratio, and I understand the point the fact that we've played teams in the bottom half and we've not played any of the big boys yet, blah 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 blah, and all the rest of it. But that is ultimately what we need to do. 38 points would almost certainly be enough to keep us up. So at the moment, he is trending to that. Now, people will throw shade straight away and say, "Well, he won't be after the next four." You know what? You might be right. But it only takes one win, really, for him to be in and around that ratio. And I would almost bet on it that we'll be either Villa, Chelsea, or Liverpool. I've seen people say, "Oh, we won't win another game while Danny Farke's in charge." I don't think that's the case. I think we will almost certainly win one of them games because we are very, very good at home. And if that's not the case, if we see a change in that situation, then it's a different situation, isn't it?
Yeah, I completely agree. And I think that's what I've kind of pull myself back on because, you know, you see two kind of really poor performances and, you know, it's very easy to start going down that road of, right, throw it all in the bin, burn it to the ground kind of thing. But you're absolutely right. At home, it's been rock solid. It's been competitive. And barring, you know, Tottenham game was very close. Bournemouth, we should have had 3 points there. You know, we would have been higher up the league. So I think... Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you there.
No, you go. I was just going to say, imagine how we would be sitting if we had the other 5 points on the board that we should have. Yeah. It'd been 4, wasn't it? 2 against Bournemouth, 1 against Spurs, and 1 against Fulham. I don't think I'm being harsh when I say that. Like, it's all ifs, buts, and maybes, and we didn't, and all the rest of it. I get that. But how often is Gabby Goodmunson going to stick an own goal in the back of the net in the 93rd minute? Yeah. You know, the Bournemouth equalises in the last minute, and we dominated that game. Let's be fair. If we're going to criticise Daniel Farke and the team, let's then also say it the other way. You know, if he had another 4 points on the board, we'd be looking going into these 4 games and saying, well, he's already got the PPG. All of this is a bonus.
Yeah.
So,
do you know, it's funny because, I mean, a lot of stats get thrown around. I've got some screenshots of stuff that I want to put out there, but God, it can be so kind of, some of them tell a story, and some of them can be manipulated in the way that the story you want to tell. And I mean, this one, for example, I mean, if I'm Daniel Farke, I'm banging my head against a wall and going, that's just, I don't know what you want to call it, but this one, I didn't put the transparent clicker on, but LUFC data, opponents facing Leeds have the highest conversion rate in the Premier League in 25-26, but Leeds' conversion rate is the second lowest in the top flight, ahead of only Wolves. So, opponents are being so efficient against Leeds, and we've seen that. I mean, the last two games in terms of the XG is not yet. I mean, it's been bad, but outside of that, we've seen it where teams don't seem to have to create a lot to score goals against us, but we have to do kind of everything to get the ball in the back of the net. Obviously, we have signed a striker who, is not clinical in any way, shape or form, so it's kind of self-inflicted a little bit. But I mean, if you're Daniel Farke, you're looking at that going, if that just kind of evened up a little bit, I mean, we'd be in such a better position. Or if it evens up going forward, we should be fine.
Yeah, I think that's fair. And the games have felt a little bit like that, especially the ones in which we've played well in and then not got what we deserved. Bournemouth and Spurs is a prime example. Both of them, they scored from next to nothing, and we really had to solve world peace to actually score. So I can totally see that. But then, the Farke haters will then say, well, they're getting into better positions and, they're converting these chances. That's why the conversion rate is higher, because the defence is not doing their job. I think there's a reality somewhere in the middle of the two, to be honest. And I think the profligacy that we're showing in front of goals, not obviously, we've had this problem for years, Browney. Outside of, I think it was 2021 when Bamford scored the 17, we have been so wasteful in front of goal since we started being successful. We have. Even the season that we got promoted, you go back and have a look at Bamford's conversion that year. The amount of chances that we used to need to win 2-1. It was wild. So this just seems to have been going on and on and on and on. But it's gonna be. I would rather see some positives in the fact that we're creating chances and we're in these games than being like Wolves or even Burnley to a point where they're just holding on. I mean, Wolves are not even competing, are they? I mean, so he must be banging his heads against the wall. But that is what I would probably expect to see from one of the worst teams in the league.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, absolutely. Comments flying in. Our very own Dave, our theme song is such a bop. It is, mate. Cascarade. Check it out. YouTube, full version on there. Also giving us the heads up that Big House versus Red Car is postponed as well. Thank you for that, Dave. Dean, hi. Welcome along, mate. Gav, thank you, mate. 3 home games in 4, hence 4 points required or else, allegedly. We'll get into some of the selection stuff as well, and the Metro for DCL, Pascal for Bijou. Yeah, we'll go through all that. Dakota, thank you. And Nige, morning, guys. Tactics / in-game management will not change under Farke. However, I do think the 49ers will stick with him after the statement to the investors about finishing 16th / 17th is their plan. Yes, well, interesting you say that as well, because there was Moscow White, formerly of the Square Ball, has his own Leeds United site, and he's made that there's off-the-record investor documents that, and I think we got told this in the summer by that leak, where this season 16th, 2 seasons after that 15th is the aim from the 49ers investment firm. Now, obviously, it's an international break, so I think I've seen a lot of videos where people going, but they've told us that, Parag said in the summer he wanted us one of the best teams in Europe, and yet we're seeing this about us finishing, 16th and then 15th, but it's like, well, he didn't put a time frame on it. In Parag's defence, I'm happy to hammer Parag when I see something that I'm not happy with, but to be fair, he didn't say we were going to be in Europe next season or anything. Yeah, I mean, that's 5 years or whatever. We don't know ultimately how long the 49ers are going to stick around for. That was also laid out in that leak in the summer as well. The fact that they're looking to put the club in a position, that someone's going to come and buy them out. But so there's a lot of kind of smoke and mirrors. I mean, we've seen about transfer links. I mean, there's a striker that we were linked to, and then it said, well, he's going to cost 40 million. I'm like, we're not going to spend 40 million in January. Like, can we not do all the rumors and all the stuff of things that are just not going to happen. Like, I can't be arsed with that, Jay.
No, I agree. I mean, I think the best that we can hope for really in January is probably some loan signings of players that are maybe a bit out of favour, either experienced or young, that could change maybe a little bit of fortune. I think that is probably the market in which we would look into. I think we will be in for one or two, probably creative players. I definitely think we'll do some business, but we're not going to be in the market for a £40 million striker. I don't see that. I think there'd be too much risk attached to it as well if we went down. And yeah, I mean, just coming back to your points, they're absolutely fair. I've seen Gavin's comment. I don't know if you want to flash that one up, but Gav, I mean, again, I think personally, and Brownie, you tell me what you think. You tell me if I'm out of line here, but I think this is the big problem with the fan base. I think it's a huge problem within the fan base as a whole. Like, the level of ambition that you're capable of having when you've spent 17, 18 years in the championship out of the previous 21 is that in the first year, maybe even 2, maybe even 3, you just survive.
Yeah.
It's impossible to have a level of ambition beyond that. Now, if you think that it's a lack of ambition, Parag Marat is saying that we want to be one of the, challenging for Europe in 5 years, you are off your tree. That is extremely ambitious. Extremely ambitious. Most promoted teams won't even establish themselves or just go straight back down.
Yeah.
We are, I'm going to say this again, it's going to annoy people, we are a championship club in terms of player profile, the squad, the recruitment capabilities, and all of the rest of it. And, you then bring up Sunderland, and this Sunderland situation is driving me mad. I mean, if they were in and amongst us, I think the noise would be totally different. It's Sunderland that are kind of skewing out at the minute. They've got a little bit of momentum. They've got good recruitment. They've got a good manager. They've got a good setting at the minute. I would bet good money, that within the next 2 years after this season, Sunderland are back in the Championship.
Yeah.
I would bet good money because that is.
Well, I was going to say something very. Yeah, no, I that's what I was going to say. And look, they may be the next Brighton, Brentford, or like they might have a season like Forest where they get into Europe. But you're absolutely right. I mean, history tells us what this like, and don't forget. I mean, they were losing in a playoff final in May. They were 10 minutes away from not having this level, and who knows what question marks would have been asked then. It's all very circumspect. There's no guarantee. It doesn't matter how good the plan is. It can still go wrong because it's blokes on a football field kicking a ball about. There's no, it's not maths. It's not an equation. It's you have a plan. You try and execute that plan. If it works, great. But a lot of the times it's not going to happen. I mean, for me, Sunderland, I think you bang on. I think this Sunderland thing, and I had a sneaking suspicion they might do something this season. When you see Granit Xhaka and you think, they seem to have that. Almost that kind of thing that we had when we went up with Bielsa the first time, where it's all fresh, new, and exciting, and it's kind of, I don't know. Whereas we're a bit more kind of worn out. We're a bit more. We've had the relegation. We've had 2 battling years to try and get back up. The money, the PSR. We hear all the time is how difficult it is to compete. And that's the playing field we've been given. So, we've got the reality that, look, we just need to try and survive it. We're not thinking, the club aren't thinking, up there. Because Radrazani was like that. Radrazani came out, when we were in that Premier League, he did an interview on Sky, second season. We'd just been humped by Liverpool. And he was saying, look, I want to push us towards Europe. But that reality of, bridging that gap and getting there, I mean, it's like climbing Mount Everest. It's really, really difficult.
And let's be real as well. It's easy for the Sunderland owner to come out after 10 games when everything's gone perfectly and gone, we're aiming for top 10 when you sat 3rd after 10 games, whatever it is. Let's be dead real. Their aim, 100% before a ball was kicked, was to finish 17th.
Yeah.
Facts.
Yeah.
You're kidding yourself if you tell me it was anything else. Now, obviously, every team goes out wanting to win every single game. The intention is to go out and win every single game, but they will have intended to finish 17th, and they've had a great start. They've put themselves into a perfect. I am still not convinced that they won't be dragged into a relegation battle, by the way. I know everybody's like waxing lyrical at the minute.
Remember Hull?
Yeah,
Brown, and they got off to an absolute flyer, and then it all wheels crashed
yeah.
from Birmingham.
Blackpool did the same as well.
Yeah.
Blackpool had a really great start, and then I don't think they won a game from January.
Yeah.
And it catches up with them. So I wouldn't rule them out of being in and around it come the end of the season. I think they'll stay up now. I think they've given themselves enough of a leg, and I think similar to Ellen Road, I think the Stadium of Light is one of them grounds that can really get behind and act as that extra man, like the 12th man. I hate that kind of saying, but it's true. Like, it does make a big difference. So yeah, just forget about Sunderland. Let's just deal with it. Look at where Burnley are. Burnley finished on 100 points, exactly the same as us. We're in exactly the same boat.
They were allowed more losses than us as well, because they had 2 Premier League years in their accounts as well. Enzio, morning, mate. Thanks for your comment. For me, Daniel Farke does have his faults that do frustrate me. Game management, use of squad play at times and subs, but he has done a good job all round when you think how we were.
I agree with that completely.
Yeah. Well, this is the thing. I think for me, what I'm thinking as well is, and we had a bit of a debate on the Monday roundtable show, and Lewis was bringing up about sacking your manager and the effects of that happening. My concern with this is, Jay, I think ultimately is, and look, I want him to get a handle on it, and I want him to kind of, us to kind of, get those results and him save it. But if it doesn't happen, and because I think if you start sacking managers in February and that kind of thing, I think then you're down the drain, aren't you? Then I mean, I remember when Leicester kept Rodgers for too long. That season they came down, and he should have been sacked months before, and they hung on to him, and they ultimately ended up going down. And it's almost that timing, isn't it? As well, it's like, do you, as an ownership group, do you want them to be just reactive, wait and see, or do you think they need to go, right? We need to be proactive. We need to try and make a change to kind of almost stop it before it gets worse. And I can see that argument, but at the same time, like Enzio said, then he's, the obstacles is already overcome. It makes it really difficult. I'm still kind of torn about the whole thing. I really am,
I'm torn with it, and the main reason I'm torn with it is because of the vocal part of the fan base that are they're gonna push the narrative on, and what will happen is we'll lose the support of the boys, and the lads needed that for this squad to stay up this season. They need us 100% behind them, which is in part then down to having the right manager. My biggest fear is that we'll sack him and replace him with Gary O'Neill or somebody of that ilk, and the fans will be like, oh shit, we didn't really think this through. 2 games will go by, we'll lose them both, and then Gary O'Neill will be in exactly the same position that Daniel Farke was in, and he'll have the rest of the season. I'm just using Gary O'Neill as an example, but and that's my biggest concern. And I've said this for 2 years. Fans are still pining for Marcelo Bielsa. The amount of Marcelo Bielsa stuff that's popped up on Twitter this week is wild, comparing everything to Marcelo, one of the greatest managers that has ever lived. Yeah, and we were lucky. We were so lucky to have him. And some of you that are now bringing them things up were wanting him sacked, by the way. We'll just talk about that. So and we now find ourselves in this same situation. I'm just really, really nervous around a wholesale change at any part in this season. I really believe that this squad's best chance of staying up is with him in charge. I think a wholesale change to a tactical, plan is really worrying around this team. Really worrying, because they just have so little individual quality. And the more I think about it, the more I think about different styles. I think who's gonna be able to adopt it and change it to really improve it. And then I look at some of the names that people are calling for, and I think you're never gonna get them. Thiago Motta is never coming to Leeds United this season. Never in a gazillion years.
Well, the other thing of this, Jay, as well is, and where I kind of question the 49ers was, or not quite, well, yeah, I am questioning it, or I'm kind of wondering how it'll play out. And I've talked about it ad nauseum before about losing, Nick Hammond from that recruitment team. Like, who is Adam Underwood and the other bloke, Robbie Evans, who's on their managerial shortlist? Because I'm telling you, it will be Gary O'Neill. It'll be Steven Gerrard, as Enzio mentions there. Because the thing about Victor Orta was, and we know about Victor Orta, the faults, the foibles, everything. He was a bona fide, experienced sporting director with connections far and wide who could open the door to Marcelo Bielsa. Okay. I don't have any faith that these guys, Robbie Evans, for God's sake, is like a Harvard maths guy. He has nothing. He has no reach in football. He doesn't know the next Bielsa or whoever you want to look at. So my question marks will be who, if we get rid of Farke, I wouldn't 100% back these guys to get that next decision right, because I just look at the history and go, who the hell do they know? I mean, look, Rangers and Rangers managerial search was a farce.
Yeah.
Absolute farce. And they ended up plumbing for Danny Röhl, and look, it might work out good, but it's different levels to the Premier League. If you're just going to be looking at Steven Gerrard and Gary O'Neill, I just don't see that as being a good enough answer to this. I really don't. And that my concern is you make the change, but I wouldn't back these guys to get it right. I'm sorry.
I agree. I think the 49ers have got a huge part to play in this. A huge part of responsibility and a huge part of then the kind of fear factor around whether we get it right or not. I mean, they got it right with Daniel Farke. Yeah. Let's be straight, they did. And I think before Daniel Farke, they actually wanted Brendan Rodgers. I think Brendan Rodgers was their number one man. I think Brendan Rodgers is probably who we'd end up with, by the way. I'm not sure whether he would want the job or not, if I'm honest, because I think he would feel like he was probably on a hiding to nothing. Like, I really do. But I could imagine that being the candidate they go for. And that might work for 6 months. It might. But we've seen how toxic he is. There's a lot of stories that get flown around about Brendan Rodgers, and he's very quick to leave. And, another job came up for Brendan Rodgers, he'd leave us in a heartbeat, in my opinion. It'd be one of them. So I think you just got to be careful what you wish for. And, we've seen really, top-end content creators this week with vast numbers call for some ludicrous names. Frank Lampard, mate. Like, Frank Lampard. Like, no. He's done a great job, by the way. I think he's actually... He deserves his flowers because he's rebuilt himself from the Chelsea, situation, the Everton, then after, and he's gone back down to the Championship. He's swallowed his pride a little bit, and he's taken a big job in Coventry, and he's actually rebuilt them, and he's got them playing really well, top of the league, fair play. But tactically, he's in the net. Frank Lampard's miles behind Daniel Farke, miles and miles and miles and miles and miles. And he might get to a certain level one day, but right now, no, and not for us. I mean, the connection between Frank Lampard and Leeds United, no, absolute no. So
Brian, it's all over again, isn't it? You're going to get in like your enemy, you're the one you worship's enemy, for God's sake. Like, why would you do that? It'd be such a bad start, Jesus. Steve, thanks for your comment, mate. Good morning, good stream, lads, as usual. Yeah, appreciate that, mate. And Enzio, as he says here, hopefully we can stick together, as I don't think the clamour for DF to leave doesn't help, although I do understand fans not being happy with aspects of his management with Rodgers, things go. But what frustrated me more, Jay, was the level of performance in the last two games. It's like, I can accept losing both those games, but it's the level of performance. It's frustrating because, that needed to be better. So it's kind of stoked it a little bit,
I agree. I think especially the performance against Forest, we just needed more intensity. We needed to be more competitive, regardless of it being away from home. If you come away from that game as a 2-1 loser in a game in which we've really put some punches on them, I think you can say fair enough. But the performance wasn't good enough on the back of the Brighton performance. I get it. And I get Daniel Farke's faults. I understand he's very, very rigid within the structure. He's very pragmatic. I understand his substitutions come at a certain point. I understand that he throws everybody on when we're desperate and there's no kind of tactical plan to try and unpick somebody. People have said Sunderland away at home to Arsenal when they managed to get a last-minute goal, they changed the game. I hear all that. I hear it all. I understand his limitations. I also understand where Leeds United are. Yeah, we are not going to attract this level of manager that you think that we are, that is capable of just tinkering games like to that level. We've got the level of manager that we've got, and that is the level in which we are at the minute. So I couldn't agree with Enzio's point more, in that it's absolutely vital that people stick behind him and stick behind the team. You know, we need to help this team over the line. If we're going to stay up, we are a massive part of it. My biggest problem with the way that people react to Daniel Farke is these people that are now absolutely laying into him have been laying into him when we were on 100 points.
Yeah.
They've been waiting for this. And now when the team really need you, you are choosing to actually make the situation worse in the interest of getting rid of the manager. Yeah. That's where I kind of sit with the biggest problems. You know, I've had a few back and forth. I've come off Twitter again, but the biggest back and forth I've had with people is that people are actually looking for him to fail to get rid of him. I'm never, ever going to fall on that side of the line. Even with Jesse Marsh, we didn't get there, you know. And maybe if we'd have lost to Liverpool badly, we'd have sacked him when we could have stayed up. I don't know. He was the wrong person from the day that he walked in the door. That's the biggest difference. Daniel Farke wasn't. You know, people are still saying that we shouldn't have employed Daniel Farke 2 years. What are you talking about? Daniel Farke's got the most points over the last 2 and a bit years in the country. I think it might even be in the world, but he's definitely in the top leagues anyway. But in this country, it was in this country because Gaz shared it. He was talking about Graham Alexander.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Daniel Farke, number one most points taken, and then there's people that just want to slag Daniel Farke, like, yeah, but he had the best team. No, that's not fair. No, it's not fair.
Exactly. I mean, that's forgetting what actually happened, isn't it?
Exactly.
A couple of comments here. Nige, if we do change our manager, I've got a feeling Ange will come in. God almighty, can you imagine Ange in charge of this lot? Jesus, we'll be relegated by January. Glenn Chisby comment, mate. If fans' expectations are wildly unrealistic, could the club be doing more to set them straight? Well, I mean, in terms of kind of backing Farke publicly, maybe. I don't know. I mean, it's a really hard line to get, is that, because we joke about it in the group about Huddersfield Town's owner, and you know, he's getting into back and forth with fans on Twitter, and we saw a bit of that with Rads as well. And I wouldn't want it to kind of go to where you feel like you've got to kind of rebuttal everything.
Yeah.
I think you have to be really kind of careful with that. But do you think is there more the club could do to kind of set expectations? I mean, it's a hard thing to do, isn't it, really? I mean, I think that's probably why these leaks have come out about, you know, where they're hoping to be, but it's a real difficult one, really.
Yeah, I think it's a difficult one. I think we're a very expectant fan base. You know, there is some fans that genuinely think that this squad of players should be finishing in around 10th with the right manager, that they'd finished in the 10th to 13th region. They're just off the red. They just don't know what they're talking about. They don't understand football. They don't know they just don't know. They just see Leeds players and think that's it. You know, the only team that's turning up is Leeds players. Like, once, we've said this a few times over the last few weeks, 1 to 11, Browney, you'd have taken all the Forests, right?
Yeah.
You probably would.
Yeah,
the week before against Brighton, you'd have taken all of theirs.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? 1 to 11, you'd have taken all of them. So it's just a nonsense, an absolute nonsense. But I don't know what the you know, well, I mean, Gav's a prime example of this. The 49ers come out and say that we're aiming to finish 16th, 17th, and Gav says, what kind of ambitions are? That's it. So the club have come out and said, you know, where our expectations is to try and keep them realistic, and the fans are like, nope, that's not good enough. I don't know. I don't know what they can do. We're not a Norwich. We're not a West Brom. Some of these teams, but some of these teams that have been in the Premier League way more than us over the more recent years have gone through this as well. Fulham, Brighton, Bournemouth, Brentford, you know, have all had seasons where they finished 16th or 17th.
Exactly, and that's what you have to do. It's building blocks, isn't it? Ultimately, you have to do it. One thing as well, and obviously there's a lot of attention on Farke, but you know, I save some ire for the players, and the reason why I say this, and I'm going to use the the Sunderland thing in a different way now, but I'm looking at Ballard, I'm looking at Hume, I'm looking at Rigg. They're stepping up, by the way.
Yeah.
Dan Ballard, goal and assist against Arsenal.
Yeah.
Right. So I'm looking at Ampadu. I'm looking at players like that going, right, what are these performances over the last few games, because I'm sorry, if he performs, more capable than that, we've got a much better chance. And Ampadu's the captain. I'm really looking at Ampadu, someone who's played at the club for a couple of seasons now, needs to be fully at it. What is going on? And look, that's helping Sunderland. When you're getting players that have come up with you, giving 7, 8, 9 out of 10s, that's what we need from some of these guys that have been in the squad a bit longer as well.
Yeah, you're spot on. I mean, there's others as well. Isidore stepped up front.
Isidore, yeah.
Daniel, but they've also been ruthless in cutting out some of the players that they just didn't see as good enough too. And replacing them. And I mean, I like Ampadu. I really, really like Ampadu, and I've spent 2 years saying that I think he'd be perfect to step up. But at the minute, there is a question mark of whether he should be starting. I genuinely think that there's a case in which we maybe sort out the midfield issue with Stack in there. That could be a solution, and Stack comes in and Tanaka and Longstaff play alongside him. That might be a route to some of this solution. I don't know. I mean, Stack's got his own issues as well, but I do think Stack's been played out of position. I think his best position is in the 6.
Yeah.
So it would be interesting to see that. But yeah, no, I agree with you, mate. I agree with you. I think the only player really that's really given himself the credit that he deserves from a step up is Joe Rodon.
Yeah.
I think he's the only one that's really looked at the level. And Jayden Bogle, Jayden Bogle,
Stroik when he were in. Stroik when he were in.
Yeah. Ampadu, and then obviously the younger lads, Brendan. I actually think Brendan's been in one of our probably top 3 or 4 players. People are not going to agree with that because they won't, but I think if you're really fair to the contribution that we've seen throughout this season, I think since he started, I think he's been one of our better players, which kind of gives you a little bit of an inkling to where this squad is. Brendan Aaronson's not a great footballer. But unfortunately, it's one of the better ones that we've got right now, which tells you where this squad is. The same people that say Daniel Farke should be getting this team to finish 12th will then say that the squad's shit. And it makes no sense. It makes no sense. So, yeah, I agree with you, mate. I agree with you.
I just wonder, you're talking about dropping Ampadu or whatever. I just wonder if, because we know Farke's comfortable with this, I wonder if you go back to a similar formation that you had last year where maybe have Ampadu and Stack as like a double pivot. Maybe you move Aronson to the number 10, and that maybe you just because it's a formation that he's comfortable with. I mean, is there something to that? Do you think? I mean, do we maybe need to look at that and try and? Although Aronson is what he is he the best number 10 in the world? No, but do we just try and look at that as something maybe to get a higher level out of someone like Ampadu, possibly?
I personally, this is the way that I see it. I think the way that we've been playing at home is fine. I would probably stick with the 4-1-4-1 and go with what has actually worked. I think away from home, I think it's a very viable option. I think you go with a double pivot of Stack and Ampadu in front of the back line. You play Brendan in the 10, who then will carry the legs. He'll be the one buzzing around constantly. You get James up high with a target man striker. And you get the left midfielder to be more defensively responsible. So you probably have to drop out Okafor, and then you go long. You look to maintain some sort of stability within the team. You've got that rear guard in front of the defensive line that's giving you that protection. You hit Calvert-Lewin and you try and get Dan James in the break. And then you can work a 4-2-3-1 around that, can't you? In the same way that we did last season. I could see that working. I don't think that's what he'll do though.
No.
Or maybe he will. A 4-2-3-1 is his formation. We were talking about his time at Norwich last week,
though, hasn't it? For this away, because if you just go and perform like that week in, week out, you would literally, that's half your games. You're just going to piss away. He's got to do something to change that away performance, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does. And that is definitely on him to find that. Even if we just become far more defensively rigid, we play a low block, for example, and we try and keep teams out. I saw a comment earlier about we needing to work out how to score goals. Yeah, we've scored 10 goals this season, which is the same as Forest. the more than Wolves and one less than Newcastle as an example, I actually don't think that's where the problem is over recent weeks. Since the Newcastle game week 3, we've conceded far too many goals. Again, weekend we conceded 3, we've conceded 20, which is only it's the fifth worst, which is 16th, puts us in the exact same position in which we're in. I'd say that's the biggest concern, and I suppose the gap between the two as well. Bear in mind though as well, we did concede 5 against Arsenal, and I kind of rule them 5 out a little bit. So it's a tricky one. The creativity of the team away from home is a problem.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Probably why it's contributed to this. This is Opta's supercomputer for Premier League projections. It now has Leeds United as second favourites to be relegated, a 51% chance of relegation there. And it makes me laugh because, it changes like the bloody wind, doesn't it? I don't understand. I'll be honest with you, I've flashed that graphic up, but it drives me mad because it just changes based on the latest. It's like, what's the bottom? Can I see the Opta chart from the start of the season and see how accurate that is at the moment? That's what it should be. Just changing it based on the new information. It's like, well, duh. We've just been battered 3-0 away by Forest.
Well, what it gives you, because at the minute we're 16th, but it's still predicting that we'll finish 19th based on the games that we've got left to play and where it is, whether it's home or away. So I understand it to a point. But you're absolutely right. We go and beat Villa at home and would probably be 15th on that. Okay. So I don't take any notice of it. It was exactly the same as I didn't take any notice of it when we were running for the promotions, and it was telling us that we had 99.9% chance. And I was like, nope, no, we're not doing this. So I agree with you. Look, I think the biggest concern at the minute is the upturning form of West Ham and Forest. That's a concern. Fulham, however, have not upturned. They've had 1 win in 5. Same as us. We've had 1 win in 5. Marco Silva's becoming under a little bit of pressure. Newcastle are obviously not going to go down, but Newcastle are obviously they've been in really poor form as well this season. It is a time and a moment, and you've just got to maintain. Everton looked like everybody's favourite second team, didn't they? They're 4 points in front of us. People were saying that Everton were going to finish in the top 10, 4 points in front of us. Newcastle are 1 point in front of us.
Newcastle's a madness, and there's some similarities with Leeds actually. They've got the big striker up front who they're struggling to provide for. They play 3 in the middle like us. They're terrible away from home. Newcastle.
They don't want away from home since I think it's January.
Dreadful, absolutely dreadful. But like you say, they're obviously not going to be. They're definitely not going to be involved. But I think Fulham's a good shout because there's something off at Fulham. They didn't recruit well in the summer. Silva's in his last year of his contract, so there's a real kind of existential crisis building there where they're probably going, well, what's next for us? So we can catch teams like that in the hop. We absolutely shouldn't have lost to them. I thought we were far the better team on that day. Yeah. So there's still opportunities. Like you say, the concern is, West Ham upturn, Forest upturn. They've got the perfect managers in to do it as well. That's the thing about making an early decision as well. You can maybe get those
Browney
ones who can kind of shore it up. Dyche at Everton, did it to us last time, didn't they? They got him in, and it was it made the difference. A couple other things.
Just on that before you skip on. They've earned the right over the previous few seasons to be able to employ their managers. West Ham have become established after being a bit of a yo-yo side, being stuck in the Championship a bit. Forest have been in the Premier League now 3 or 4 seasons. They've earned the position to be able to go to Sean Dyche and Nuno and say, "You're our man." When we sack Farke, we've not earned the right to them managers yet. Yeah. And that's something that the fans need to understand and get on board with. We're not there yet. Go and have a look at who Forest employed when they first sacked Cooper. Yeah, did they go straight to Nuno after that? I can't remember.
I'm sure they had someone else, didn't they?
I'm sure they had someone else as well.
I'm sure there was someone before.
The point is that did they come up with Cooper? Yeah, they did, didn't they? They came up with
Cooper. Yeah, he kept him up for a season, and then I think
but they stuck with Cooper in that first season. Very reminiscent to us. You know what I mean? The point, and West Ham are the same. Like, they didn't just go straight from promotion under Sam Allardyce to a big name manager. You know, I can't remember if it was Big Sam that got them promoted last time they came up, but you get my point. Like there's a progression point. Unless you're lucky enough to come up with a manager like that, you know, like maybe Regis Labrie at Sunderland, or we did with Bielsa, or Wolves did with Nuno. You know what I mean? When you're at a certain point in your career and you find that pathway, that's a little bit different. But most clubs, you know, Leicester last season, they had to go to Van Nistelrooy after Cooper. Southampton, they sacked Russell Martin and have to go to Juric. I think they went through 3, didn't they? Southampton in the end. No, they got Nathan Jones straight after. Is that even?
Yeah, I think was that this last time, Nathan Jones?
I can't remember if that was time before. You know, it might have been time before.
Mess of a club. Yeah,
I see Juric has been sacked at Atalanta as well, hasn't he?
Has he really?
Yeah, no surprises there. I think you bang on as well, because I was listening to Independence journalist Daniel Storey, who's a Forest fan, and he was talking about the atmosphere at Forest, and even though they've been in the relegation zone, they have that confidence of being established that they were going to get out of it, and there wasn't that desperate feeling. It was like, you know, and it was almost like a given they would kind of beat Leeds and they'll start to climb out of it. And you're absolutely right. It's that confidence, belief, the fact that you're able to attract a manager of that ilk that makes the difference. And when we're not there yet, I mean, do we remember Javi Gracia? You know, and that's what happened last time, you know.
People have got short memories. They've got really, really short memories. I mean, we obviously, at the time, were in a bit of a state. The club didn't deal with that situation correctly. We know they didn't. And I'd be hopeful that they'd be able to deal with this better. That is, you know, coming back to your point that you made earlier on in the stream, in that the timing is everything. You can't go ahead and do that in February, because the managers that are going to come in February are going to be few and far between. You have got to make that decision within the next 4 games. I genuinely think if Daniel Farke was able to get anything more than 4 points out of this next 4 games, I think you just got to stick with him there. I think you got to stick with him until the end of the season. And and if you know, if we go into the Villa game and get drubbed, fine. You know, or if we lose to Villa at home 1-0 and then we go to City and lose 4-0, 5-0, fine. Make the decision. Or even you give him the 4 games. You know, because by that point you might as well. And then you're doing your due diligence in the background to get somebody ready for after whatever game it is, Liverpool. But then, you know, if it loses to Villa and loses to City, but then beats Chelsea and Liverpool at Ellen Road, then what do you do?
Exactly.
So it's a tricky one, isn't it? But again, the haters will say, well, he won't do that.
Yeah, it's already done. Yeah. And again, it's who are the club lining up in the background? How much do we trust these guys to get it right? You bang on, they got it absolutely spot on with Farke. So, you know, we've got to say well done. But, you know, there's a big spotlight on Underwood. I think there's a big spotlight on Underwood and Evans and Parag as well. It's massive. If they make that decision, I want to see something. For me, you have to go big. And you have to pay the money. You can't do this. You can't do this cheaply. You have to pay a huge salary. Try and get somebody who has enough about them to potentially keep you up. If you try and half-arse it, if you try and do it on the cheap, if you know, anything like that, forget it. You might as well just relegate us tomorrow.
I saw another content creator the other day called for Carlos Corberan, and that made me laugh. That really made me laugh. Again, like,
we'd never look at him in a million years, would we? If he hadn't have worked with Bielsa, we wouldn't be looking at him in a million years.
Ex-Huddersfield manager now.
I like Corberan as well.
I like him too.
I would have had him after, you know, when we came down before we got Farke. I would have absolutely taken Corberan.
Yeah. Same. And it'd have been somebody that the fans would have got behind. But again, it's the Bielsa shadow. We're expecting that. He's not like Marcelo either. They were just Marcelo's assistant. But in terms of the way that he plays football, it's nothing like him. Not even comparable. So
he had a lot of jobs as well. Already. Jesus.
I mean, I wish him well, and I liked him. Like, don't get me wrong, I absolutely liked him at Leeds. He was a massive part of what we did. But it's just a bizarre one. I mean, who do you think it would be? I won't ask you who would you want, because I think
I don't think it'd be Rodgers because I don't think Rodgers would take it.
Yeah, I have a feeling.
Which I don't think he'd touch it. I absolutely could see a Gary O'Neill type. 100% Gary O'Neill, Steven Gerrard, somebody like that. I really think, and what you'll see as well is people that spoke to win for the Rangers job as well. There'll be a lot of that as well. Not Russell Martin, obviously, but there'll be, Gerrard they spoke with. I think you'll get a bit of that. I think you'll get a bit of crossover. These ones that are saying Motter and all that, it's look, if they went out and did something big, if they did something like that, fair play. I'd go, I mean, still no guarantee, but I'd go fair play. I just don't back them to do that.
No,
I don't back them being able to deliver something like that. I really
they wouldn't be radical enough, Brownie.
No, there wouldn't be. There wouldn't be. I mean, when Villa went from. Who did Villa sack? Gerrard, wasn't it? They sacked Gerrard and went to Emery. That was huge. They paid a ton of money for him.
Yeah.
But they'd already had a couple of years behind them in the Premier League. And it's different, isn't it? It's different. Whereas I look at us, and if you're an incoming manager and you look at that squad, I don't know. So it's kind of long answer, but I think we'd end up with Gary O'Neill.
Yeah, I think
and that'd be a depressing stream. I'm sorry, Gary. Fair play to you, but oh my god, can you imagine?
It'd be so underwhelming.
Oh.
Like, this is gonna sound mental. I'd rather us go get Skubala back. Like,
he's logging on now.
Yeah,
review it. Yeah,
just to piss Chris off. Like,
just for
Gary. Yeah. It'd be such a meh appointment with Gary O'Neill. And I don't see anything that would say that it would keep us up.
No.
He did an all right job at Bournemouth. He did a bit of an okay job at Wolves for a period. But come on now. Like, I am really at a loss with it because I go round and round in circles thinking who would actually improve us? Who would actually... that's realistic. And Brendan Rodgers, I suppose, is probably the first name that I think of, but I'm not really happy with it. Not happy with what he would bring, and I don't think he'd come. I think his ego's too big. I think he'd be too worried about the reputational damage of getting us relegated, and I don't think he'd back himself to keep this team up. I don't think a lot of top managers would. If they went out and did something crazy like a Motta, then it'd be insane. But a manager that's got that much reputation isn't going to be attracted to a squad in which they've struggled to put together in the way that they have. It just makes no sense. I can't believe I'm going to say this, right? But I am going to say it. I need to brace myself.
Not Lampard, please.
No, not Lampard. I don't think he'd come anyway, but I quite like the idea of Scott Parker at the minute. I know that's a mental one.
Oh my word!
Listen to my reason. I've never really liked Scott Parker, and I've always been dead against him. But what Scott Parker has got is a defensive, structural style to playing football. And if he could maybe, because I think we have a better team than Burnley.
Yeah.
If he could impart the defensive structure on this team with a bit more quality going forward, maybe he'd be able to get us more points than Burnley. And it would also damage Burnley. Because I actually think Burnley are going to be more competitive. I think they're going to be in and around the battle until the end as well. I don't think they're just going to go away. I think they'll go down, but I think they're going to be in and around it as well. I can't believe I'm saying it, but I can understand the defensive logic why that would make some sense. This is the problem is, Brownie, this is the ballpark in which we're talking about.
Yeah. No, just go Scott Parker. I'd rather have Parker from Thunderbirds.
The problem is, right, like, you can laugh, and I get it. It sounds ridiculous. This is the ballpark of manager that we're in for. Would you prefer to have Scott Parker than Gary O'Neill?
Yeah, good point. Yeah, good question. Glenn's from up here as well. Southgate.
He's not going to come. He's not going. Gareth Southgate has got a really good reputation on the back of the England job. Why would he risk that by getting relegated at Leeds United? He wouldn't. He would not. And I mean, I'm not even sure if he's the man anyway at club level, but I just think Silva.
Yeah, I was going to say Silva. Yeah.
I don't think he'd come to Leeds.
I don't. I would. I think that would be kind of almost perfect with a Silva type manager, but I don't see it as well. He looks to me like somebody's ready for a break as well. I think.
Yeah.
In terms of who else, I mean, it's all meh, isn't it? It's meh unless you are able to attract someone who's really up there. But yeah, I mean, there's another comment here, like Enzio says, a lot of top managers want a pre-season,
100%.
wouldn't want to leave their current position mid-season. Going to be very difficult to get anyone outstanding. So yeah, it's be careful what you wish for, isn't it? Really, be careful what you wish for. Just in terms of the fixtures and everything like that. If we look at this graph here, so this is the last 10 fixtures, and it's who had the easiest fixtures over the last 10 games. You can see Leeds in third place there. Obviously, we know that's worked out. We've won 1 in 6. The next 10, Leeds have got the hardest fixtures, so they're right at the bottom there, which we all know is a 93.6% mean average difficulty. It's going to be bloody hard. But I think, look, we've just got to give it as all. I mean, the Villa game, Jay, I mean, I just think that's a huge, huge game. I think, that could be one of those games where it sends shockwaves where things happen, because it really feels like, for Farke, for the players, it's absolutely huge, because if that goes wrong, then there could be a change.
Yeah, 100%. I think the decision will be made after the next game, one way or another, which seems crazy. It really does. But he wins that game. He buys himself the Man City, the Chelsea, and the Liverpool games too, pretty much. It then keeps us on the points per game kind of ratio, and nobody will be expecting him to get any points from Man City, Chelsea, and Liverpool. So if he beats Villa, he kind of then gives himself the next 3 anyway. He only has to probably get 1 more point for him to keep his job until then the easier run of games. We need to see some differences away from home. We absolutely do. And then, vice versa. We lose to Villa, we lose badly. Especially, imagine we were 3-0 down at half-time or something against Villa. The crowd will be on it. And the Lou's mentioned this a couple of times, the ownership will know you have to keep the fan base on board.
Yeah.
You have to keep the fan base on board. And, then there's the other conversation. I think regardless, at the end of the season, I think you'd have to get rid of him. I think that's where I'm at with Daniel Farke now. I think at the end of this season, promotion or relegation, I think we need a fresh manager for the fans. If I'm honest, I've got no interest really in sacking him unless the performances get really, really bad week in, week out. Because I just think the squad's where it is, and I think in the Championship we'd have the best manager for the job anyway. So why sack him? But I think the fan base just wouldn't allow it, because of the expectations, because of the way that the mindset of the fan base is. So yeah, I'm just having I don't know if you want to bring it back onto this subject or not, but very quickly. I just brought up a refresh to the list of the managers, and I know we had it on the show the other day, but as it currently stands, I'll just give you
the betting odds.
Yeah, the 10. Yeah. So Marco Rose is still the favourite. I don't like that one at all, if I'm honest. I just don't know if it's because of the unknown, but failed at Leipzig, failed at Dortmund, Red Bull manager. He plays 4-2-4, which scares the shit out of me, if I'm honest. Like, I just think this team just gets cut open. You need so many runners to play that kind of style. Or he plays a diamond, which scares me as well.
That feels like a legacy link. That feels like the ownership know him from the past. Like, you know what I mean? It's like it's stinky. Yeah. Don't like that.
Brendan Rodgers, Steven Gerrard, Knutson at 4th, which would be an exciting signing, but I just don't see him coming in during the season. From Bodo Glimt is somebody that we've been flirting as an idea for about 4 years now. Is Knutson. He plays a nice style of football who's similar to Bielsa. Michael Carrick is a 5th favourite, Brownie. Michael Carrick. Again, you laugh at my Scott Parker suggestion. Like Postecoglou, Eric Ten Hag, Gary O'Neill, Mark Robbins, Gareth Southgate. That's the rest of the top 10.
I mean, he's
stinky, man. He's stinky. Eric Ten Hag?
No, not for me. I think he's a bit dodgy, Ten Hag.
Yeah, I just don't like the
4
list.
games at Bayern Leverkusen.
Steven Gerrard, third favourite, Brownlee. This is where we are.
The man who
I mean,
can't
I can't
coach
lie.
tactics.
I can't lie. Like, I want Danny Farke to succeed and just keep us up there. But there is an evil, twisted, sick side of me for a content-specific kind of reason that would love this to play out. And for a Saka manager, and then we employ Gerrard and just have the meltdown of the chat. And for me to just be sat here saying, I told you so. There is a sick side of me that would like that, but
is there a world where Gerrard succeeds though? Is there a world where it comes together? I mean, the problem I have with Gerrard is, and he's openly admitted it, that he doesn't take the training on the grass. He has coaches that do it because he sounds to me like he doesn't have a clue tactically.
Tactically, it's hard,
and it's all personality. It's all, I won the Champions League. We were 3-0 down, and I won the Champions. It's like, how long are players going to go? Yeah, how long are players going to be invested into that before they just go, this guy don't know what he's talking about?
Same as Wayne Rooney, innit? We would end up back in the League One days when we had Gary Mack in charge, because it'd be Gary Mack who'd be running the team. We know Gary Mack's is number 2. It'd literally be Leeds United season 2 of League One when we finished in the playoffs. That's what tactics you'd see. You might as well get Johnny Howson out under 21s and stick him in between. Just a madness.
You see Pablo's been made permanent manager of Castellon.
Yeah, good luck to him. Good luck to it. Yeah, that's class. And I think that's something that could happen one day.
Oh.
He's obviously a bit of a student of Marcelo. He's got such a connection with the club. The fans would love that. He'd
have such a long rope, wouldn't he, as well?
Yeah. 100%. And tactically, he seems to be doing a pretty good number where he is, but he needs to build towards that. But yeah, one day that'd be class, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I could certainly see we're in the Championship. It's like our 5th year in the Championship. And we just can't get going. It's like, Pablo, it's time.
Okay, I'd put him back in number 10, mate.
Yeah. Get him over now, actually. Can he do a job now?
You paint such a picture. We are such a cynical Leeds fans.
Years and years of it, isn't it? Years and years. Bielsa, is it too late for Marcelo? Can we prize him away?
I saw somebody in here the other day. We didn't flash the comment up, but I saw somebody in here the other day suggest Marcelo till the end of the season and then put him in directors. It's like, what? Like, it's got to actually be realistic and like something that he would want as well. The guy who's managing Uruguay is living life of luxury over there. He ain't gonna come back to Leeds as much. They've definitely sorted it out before, haven't they? They've definitely discussed it with him. We know that, but it won't happen. It will happen.
The one that I always kind of like the idea of at Leeds, and partly because of the Argentinian Bielsa link, won't happen obviously because it's a World Cup year and probably out of our realms of reality. But like Pochettino, I always liked that. I always thought, what I always thought? If we'd have established ourselves with Bielsa and stayed in the Premier League and grown, that would have been almost perfect. Poch comes in and
he should have been the manager that took over from Marcelo. He should have been. He should have been the one. When Jesse came in, he came in during the season. Poch would never have taken then anyway. And I think Poch did a pretty good job at the time. I can't remember which one he were at, but 100%. Yeah, I like the idea of Poch, and I think at some point that'd be one that we would have done if it had gone in the direction that it should have done with Marcelo. But I just reading Angio's comment about MK Don's away there. I was at the same game. And I've spoke about it with you actually, funnily enough, recently, because he brought on Mansour Assamani, who then ended up getting released and played for Wrexham about 2 weeks after that in the Conference North. And you knew that game we lost 3-0, and you knew that day Gary had just lost the plot because he'd signed this free transfer to play centre back, and he was so bad. Gary Mack was totally out of his depth, bless him.
Yeah, it was, wasn't it? God, we went through some managers. But yeah, we will wait and see. What would you? We'll wait and see what happens. Anything else you want to cover off before we vamos?
No. Let's look forward to dealing with this situation a week today. Do we play Saturday next week? We do, don't
What's that? Sorry.
Is it Saturday next week?
I think it's Sunday.
Do we
I
play
might
on
actually get
Sunday?
a ticket.
Ooh,
I
exciting.
might actually get a ticket. I'm waiting to find out if I've got a ticket, but
Quick
it
one.
is. Yeah, it's a Sunday 2:00. Oh, Sunday 2:00 is great.
Sunday.
What do you think about the 2:00? I hate 2:00 kickoffs, and it's not from any superstition, but I just feel like the atmosphere ain't quite right. I don't
Yeah.
know. It's weird because it's like only an hour till 3, but I don't know. I'm just like, there's something about 2:00 kickoffs where I'm like, it just doesn't feel right. It's like Saturday night 8:00 kickoffs.
Yeah.
It's like, ugh.
I'm not a massive fan of my watching my team on a Sunday, because then like I have to wait all weekend for it, and then when it inevitably goes wrong, it's ruined my weekend then right at the end of the weekend. Whereas when it goes wrong on a Saturday, I can kind of get over it by end of Sunday. You know what I mean? So I don't know, but I know what you mean. I do know what you mean.
By the way, has this whole thing with Leeds, how much has it kind of been on your mind, like since last weekend or whatever? How much are you kind of? I'm like you. I've kind of not watched much content this week. I've kind of purposely tried to kind of slightly just kind of simmer off because last weekend I was fuming.
Yeah, directly after the game, it bothered me for a couple of days. It was more just the heat on the situation that's annoyed me. The performance, yeah, but I were well kind of in a mindset before a ball was kicked that we were going to have several weekends of shit this season. And I can't lie, like, it's nice to not have to have the stress of winning every game. I know that sounds, but you know what I mean? Like,
it's a different thing.
It's different. Yeah. I go into certainly every away game just thinking, well, this is a bit of a free hit at the minute, and maybe I'm wrong to have that kind of mentality. Maybe that's too far the other way, but I'm just trying to enjoy it, because we wanted this for 20 years before it happened before, and then we wanted it for the last 2 seasons, and this is what I expected. I say this a lot, but I before the ball was kicked, I said that this team would finish 17th or 18th. So what am I going to expect when that's where I think we're going to finish? I'm going to expect us to see us lose about 20 games.
Yeah, because I mean, even if you say, oh well, we've only won 1 in 6 or whatever, and we've lost 4 out of 5. It's like, well, that's what we do. That's where we're at. Yeah.
You know, I talk about the FM save. I finished on 38 points myself, and I lost 8 games in a row from November through to January.
But you got yourself a wonder kid this year, haven't you?
Makoko. My boy Makoko. Yeah, what a player.
Well, he was a wonder kid on like an earlier version, and I was like, oh, I wonder, and he's still smashing them in.
Well, he signed for Copenhagen in real life.
Right, okay.
Copenhagen, yeah. He's definitely over in Scandinavia somewhere anyway. Yeah. And he's still a bit of a beast when you sign him.
There you go. FM26 tips for anyone out there. Good stuff. All right. Well, myself and Jay will be back with a little preview to the Villa game later on in the week. So please do tune in for that. If you've enjoyed today's video, please make sure you smash a like on it. If you're watching this again later, drop a comment. Please subscribe to the channel. And if you can share the video or whatever, so we can try and get more people tuned in, more people watching, that would be fantastic and much appreciated as well. But for myself, Stephen Brown, thank you. And Jason Booker, thank you.
Thank you, mate.
And we'll see you again soon. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.